everyone. Welcome to the Laura Canfield Show, the Awaken to Happiness Now Global Series. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and it is my joy and my privilege and honor to share this platform with all of you, and at the same time to support you in being the best version of you, living your greatest life. And you know, in that vein, today my good friend Lisa Barnett is here, and we are going to be talking about understanding your life's purpose, how your soul's wisdom and the Akashic Records can help you transform your life. And so, you know, the Akashic Records are a big piece of what I'm also working with right now too, but Lisa is an expert, so we're going to talk a little bit about what the Akashic Records are. And this whole, you know, thing about purpose, you know, that's a big one. And so is there something that we're supposed to be doing that we're unaware of? So many times we have this question, we are wondering this, is there something I'm supposed to be doing, right? And are you feeling confused about what the exact plan for your life is? And is there something keeping you from bringing greater abundance into your life? These are all questions we've all had from time to time, and some of us may be having them right now. So today, we're going to be talking about understanding the plan that you made before coming to Earth. We're going to learn a little bit about Akashic Soul Retrieval. We're going to look a little bit at soul contracts and how to complete old, outdated soul contracts and understand your galactic origins. You know, not all of us are from here, right? So that'll be interesting to talk about too. And so for those of you who don't know Lisa Barnett, she is an internationally known teacher, consultant, and founder of Akashic Knowing School of Wisdom. She is a clear channel of divine wisdom, an energy master, and spiritual teacher. And Lisa brings more than 25 years of spiritual counseling and energetic healing to her clients and students. And she incorporates all that information from your soul's library, the Akashic Record, with energetic healing on a soul level to help you break through blocks, clear pain, fear, and karma, and to create the life your heart and soul desire. And I'm so glad that Lisa is here with us today. She's a dear friend, highly gifted, very, very talented. So please join me in welcoming Lisa back to the show. Lisa, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Alara. You know, it's always so fun to get to hang out with you and everyone for an hour, and it's quite a joy. And it's so time, isn't it, to like kind of break through all this old garbage.
Absolutely. It's enough. Enough is enough, right?
It is time to move forward. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Good. And so, you know, most of us probably know about the Akashic Records, but there may be people who don't. So can you just share a little bit about what they are before we get into the meat about our soul's purpose and understanding our soul's purpose? Because that's such a big topic. I love talking about that.
I know these are huge topics, and so you know we kind of can stick our little toes in and you know start walking up to our knees and see how far we can get, right? Mm-hmm. But so the Akashic Records are the recording of your soul's journey throughout all time. And so I always like to imagine it like a library. So every lifetime I write a new book, and that goes in my personal library. So each one of you has your very own personal Akashic library and your own personal Akashic librarians. And they are there to help you. So they are even kind of, to me, more important than my other guides and angels, because I used to work with healing masters, the different guides and angels, and you know, all the amazing beings that are also here to help us. But when I kind of realized I could talk to the Akashic record keepers, what I realized is the information I got from them was so vast. It was so much bigger than anything I got from my higher self or my angels. So accessing this information, because again, imagine you have this huge library all about you, and you know that is accessible to you. And so the great gift is that we can find out so much of this information and answer so many of these big questions that most of us have from time to time, or you know, sometimes always we carry them around with us wondering.
Absolutely. And so, you know, I've been interested in the Akashic Records for years, you know, and I worked with you. I learned with you as well, you know, personally, in person when you came to Canada. And it's such a beautiful energy and a beautiful space. I just absolutely love it. And so and I think that might have been probably the first time that I really got to know about the Akashic Records, was when I learned it from you. But how did you learn about and get involved in the Akashic Records?
Well, for me, it was kind of a little bit of a backwards roundabout trip, because I studied with a lovely woman, 30 whatever years ago, and she was an energy healer. So she was much more of a psychic intuitive healer teacher. So that's what I studied, because that's all there was at that point. But she started talking about the Akashic Records. So as well as teaching, great depth of healing, she also would say, after you've done a healing for your clients.
I was just going to say, there's like so much static, and like the audio keeps cutting out, and I wasn't sure if that was just me or if anybody else is experiencing that. Yeah. Okay. So it seems better now, but it was like really, it was really bad for a moment. So I just thought I'd mention it.
Okay. Well, let me plug in a headset. I'm plugged, actually hardwired into the internet, because I always figured that's useful.
Yeah.
But let's see if because I have some fans going because it's hot. I wonder if that's adding static to the background. So, okay, let's see. Is
that more direct? Does that sound better?
Yep. Let's go with that.
Good. Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
Perfect. All right. Yes. No, I'm glad you mentioned it. I was going to ask in the beginning when we got on. So good. Yeah, I thought, I should turn those fans off. I didn't know if I'd survive it though. So anyway, about 35 years ago, this woman said, when you do a healing, you want to go up to the gates of the Akashic Records and ask the record keepers to give your client some Akashic information that they can now hold, now that you've done some energy healing and you've cleared out different old stuff from their field, right? But you cannot go into the Akashic Records. The records are off limit. So this is what I was taught 35 years ago, and it actually was the truth for a very, very long time. The Akashic field, the energy was pulled away from Earth about around 1000 AD in the Dark Ages, because people misused it. And so it wasn't until about the 90s. So of course, my teacher was learning in the 70s, my teacher was probably learning way back then while the records were still kind of not really accessible. So that's what I was taught. And then what I found was that these beings would talk to me and I had no idea who was talking to me. So it took me almost 5 years to figure out, when I get that huge information that was so much bigger than anything else I got anywhere, any other galactic realms. We weren't even doing galactic stuff back then, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That was like the 80s. So it took me quite a few years to figure out that the record keepers were trying to get my attention. Mm-hmm. But so when I realized, oh my gosh, they're actually talking to me. This is the Akashic Record Keepers. They were like, yeah, we had pulled the energy away, but it's back now, Yeah. And that's when they had said, will you help us bring it back to humanity? It's time for this energy to be back on Earth, because having access to your Akashic Records really is your birthright now. It wasn't your birthright for a while, but it's your birthright now, because we're a higher vibration. Mm-hmm. We have to use it in integrity, because people didn't, and that's why it got pulled away. But it is so important because it's a huge energy tool, wisdom tool to transform our lives.
It's a great resource, and it's not just about the information, but like you just said, it's also healing as well. The energy vibration of the Akashic Records is also very healing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's actually, to me, one of the biggest pieces, because I have always considered myself a healer really first. Mm-hmm. That's what I was studying all those years ago with this teacher. And what the record keepers say is that what they said to me was that, there were other ways of accessing the record, sometimes spontaneous like I had. Sometimes people were doing it through meditation. Years of meditation would often get you into your Akashic records. Mm-hmm. And so, but they said to me, we want you to teach the healing part because that is so important. And often people would get information, they'd get an Akashic reading and they would be told that they were killed as a witch or something would happen. Mm-hmm. And then and then they'd end up coming to me and saying, I don't know what to do with that information. Now I'm like freaked out about it. And you're like, oh, no problem. We can heal that. Mm-hmm. We can clear that pain and that trauma. We can clear that fear that is holding you back from accessing those levels of information and energy again, because you got killed for it, back in the 1400s or whatever it was. So it's really, really, really helpful to not only know maybe what you've been and done and your gifts and where your talents lie, etc., but to be able to clear those past life pains, traumas, emotional, challenges like getting killed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I think you have to do both. It's great to get the information, but then to heal that part, as well, so it's like just the information alone, I feel, is not helpful. I think the healing that goes along with it is the more important part, Right. So I love that about the Akashic Records and being able to heal the stories, that we have experienced. So I have asked this question myself many, many times. Am I on my path? What is my purpose? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Is there something else I should be doing? So that's why I say I love this topic, because I've been there, done that. So what does it mean in the Akashic Records to be on your path, in your soul path, and what is your purpose? So that I think everybody needs to find out about that, to hear that, so it's not just, I don't know. I'll let you go with it.
Yeah. So what I find is that in the records, this is the way the Akashic record keepers, the masters, and the lords, sometimes it's actually the Akashic lords. There is a hierarchy in the records if you're not familiar with that. There's beings of light, and there's teachers, and there's masters, and there's lords. And so when they ask me to write another book, it's literally the lords that I'm channeling to write that book. So I'm working on a new book right now, and it will be called, or is called, even though it's not in print yet, Your Soul Has a Plan. And I think that what is so useful for us to understand is that we do have a plan. We do have a purpose, but it is not one simple thing. Mm-hmm. And I think when we can move out of the belief that there is like a job description or one thing I'm supposed to be doing, then it allows us to open up to all the infinite possibilities. So what the record keepers say is that most of us bring 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gifts and talents, which are purposes, to each life. So even if you look at the gifts and talents you bring, that would say I have a half a dozen talents that I would like to share with humanity. That's really giving me a half a dozen kind of different purposes. I might weave some of them together. I might use some of them separately at different times. I may ignore some and not get around to them at all, right? But there are many kind of levels of purpose right there in these gifts and talents. So I think that that's one of the really kind of beautiful pieces that many of us can realize relatively easily. But the really important part is that your whole life is a purpose, right? Your whole plan is filled with your purpose. So it's not one thing. I always say, if it was one simple thing like a job description, if my purpose was to have been a production director in advertising, which is what I did for 15 years, right? What would I be doing now? What would that mean? Would I still be in advertising? Is that all I would have done? Would I have had my family? Would I have written my books, right? So when we look for a purpose as more like a job description, then we're really narrowing in a not positive way, right? That field, instead of going like, wow, I could do a million things because I'm frigging ancient. We're not just old, right? We've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lives. We are seriously ancient. And not only have we had all those hundreds of lives here, we've had hundreds and thousands of lives in other places, planes, and dimensions. So I think it really is important for all of us, especially right now, as we're rewriting some of our soul contracts. We can actually rewrite some of our soul plan if we choose. We can update and upgrade some of these different energies. And so we have a greater ability right now, as the vibration of humanity is raising, we actually have a greater ability to write new soul contracts and to kind of change our plan. But if we don't know what our plan is, it's pretty hard to change it. And we can change it with the assistance often of our Akashic record keepers and masters, because they're in the vibration of source. So they can help us do it if it's appropriate.
Right.
And so, again, just kind of to me, another reason that it's so useful to be able to access your own Akashic records.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, like, even when you want to change your plan or change some of your contracts, you know, it doesn't mean like suddenly, like, you know, like, let's say I'm living here in Austria, and let's say, okay, I want to be the president of the United States. That's my new plan. It doesn't work like that, you know?
Right.
I don't want to be, but, you know, as an example.
Right. Be careful what you wish for, but
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. So that's why I say, you know, these things are, it's just like your plan is based on all of the lives you've lived and all of these talents and gifts and choices that you've made, and what you want to bring here to share, the soul contracts to support other people in the world. And of course, you know, the pieces where we say, yeah, I've kind of messed that one up a bunch of times. I think I'm going to try that again and see if I can get it right this time, which is what we, you know, often refer to as karmic patterns and such. But we're still in the learning phase. And no matter how kind of awake we are, I find that we are still, last I checked, human.
Yes.
And so,
yes.
And so we get triggered by that human stuff, don't we? Every time I think, oh, I'm feeling very kind of, you know, high vibrational, expansive, galactic, not very human. And then something human kind of triggers me and I'm like, oh, yep, guess I'm still human.
Yep. Still here, still human. Yep.
Oh, there's those darn emotions again, right?
Absolutely. And that's the thing. It's like we can use the wisdom and experiences from our past lives, from our, you know, different dimensional lives here and now, and we can receive and retrieve that information from the Akashic records, right? Right.
And so if you go into your Akashic records, and you literally can go in and say, can you explain some of my you know, what I've written in my soul plan? Are there soul contracts that I have with, and I really like to be more specific. I find that the record keepers can answer you more directly, more specifically, and go deeper. And this is one of the things I teach, is when you ask a lot of questions and start to hone down. So even when I'm doing readings for people, if someone says, I'd like to clear all my karma, you know, it's like, again, you know, I wish.
Yeah.
If it was that easy, we'd all be awake.
Yeah. Or I'd like to cancel all my contracts. It's like, no, you don't want to do that. You know, it's like,
No, you don't.
No, but that's what people say. People do ask that, you know, because
Right.
they don't have an understanding of all the different contracts that we have, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
they just see all the bad stuff that's going on. It's like, yeah, let's just clear all that, you know, let's just
Right.
clear everything.
Right. But the thing to realize about that, and it really it plays out in many different ways. One of the reasons I would say I never do healing on someone unless they ask for it
Yep.
is because if we cleared all of the karma or all of those, you know, challenging contracts, you're clearing your growth.
Yeah,
you are losing that opportunity for soul growth.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is that's why we come here.
Exactly.
So your
I
biggest
totally agree. I'm the
purpose.
same way. I don't offer healing. I don't offer advice. I don't offer anything until somebody asks me.
Right.
And even then, you know, depends.
Right. Right. So we come, you know, the big soul purpose. Honestly, if your soul said, if you said to your soul, what is my purpose? It was like, it is to learn. It is to grow as a soul. It is to be the love. It is to be the light.
Exactly.
And you as a human get all, you know, the opportunities in the world to choose. So free will, that's why we come here and have free will. So we can say, how can I best express my light? How can I best express my love? And for one person, that might be to have a family, and for someone else it may be to not have a family and to shine that love out to a huge community, right? So even when your purpose is to share the love and shine the light, it could be really differently. It could be done really differently, you know, depending on, again, the rest of your plan, who you've been, what you've done, what gifts and talents you have. So then you start to hone down into your records and you say, okay, so what specific gifts or what specific talents did I bring to this life? And how are those wanting to express as my soul purpose? And so if you see that, if they tell you that you've been, excuse me, possibly an author in many lives, or you've been a artist, a builder, a designer, an artisan of some form, right? And so we start to see and know, oh, that's true. I love that. You know, I love to be creative. I love to paint or draw or build. Maybe you become an architect, or maybe you become an author, or maybe you know, become an artist, a painter. So it can be, you know, all of these different sorts of signs, let's say, of who you truly are. And then the challenges play into to help us to also learn and grow as a soul. And it is our purpose, again, because your purpose is learning and growing and sharing the love and the light and eventually awakening, right? Yep. That's kind of your big purpose. Yep. So challenges are part of your purpose. They are, if you can look at them that way. It's like, oh, how can I see this with love? How can I be the forgiveness? How can I be the compassion? How can I move through this and not get stuck in the, you know, crap? How can I not
because I've been stuck in the crap before. This time I want to get through it.
Right?
Yeah.
How do I not be in the muck and the mire? Right?
Yeah.
And so, so it really truly is all part and parcel of your soul's purpose.
Yeah. So we can ask those types of questions in the Akashic Records. We can say, okay, I'm going through this thing right now. It's like, how can I get through this with ease? How can I not get stuck? How can I move through this? I mean, I want to grow through this because I don't want to experience this again and again and again. Right.
Right.
So how can you can ask that question in the Akashic Records.
Yes. Right? Yes, absolutely. And this is, one of the things I really, really, love to teach when I teach my Akashic Record course is that I offer students 30 different questions to ask. So you can start to drill down deep. So you can start to think about things like, who would I be if I could let that go? Am I afraid of that? Is that blocking me? Right? Kind of surprisingly, often, again, our great fear is about being seen or being out there publicly, maybe getting killed again, right?
Yeah.
So when we start to understand, I'm not pushing my business out. I'm not sharing my gifts as a healer. I'm not, telling anybody about this because I'm afraid. And I don't know why I'm afraid, but then we can start to find that these are past life fears and traumas, and we can go and heal them so that you feel free to move out into the world and say, hey, I'm a healer, and no, you're not going to get killed for it, right? Because nothing worse than getting killed for that kind of stuff.
Been there, done that, yeah.
Right? Too many times, let's just say, right?
Yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, so we talked a little bit about the Akashic Records and all the wonderful pieces of it, but I also want to talk about the soul retrieval and how can we with ease complete some of our old soul contracts, instead of just saying, I'm just clearing everything, but how can we do it with ease and, with ease.
Right. Sure.
I mean, I think
we love that.
Yeah, I think I have cleared out a lot of my old contracts, but it was not done with ease. I think it was much more dramatic, I'm done with you, kind of thing.
Right, but what we notice is if we do it unconsciously, we just recreate the patterns. And so this is the important part about living a very conscious life, which means making choices that are not based on irrational emotions, and to say, okay, maybe I realize that this person is not really in alignment with who I am now. We can, look at an old relationship and say, I'm on this spiritual path and they want to sit in front of the TV and drink beer. Something's amiss here. Maybe this is not supportive anymore. Maybe it had been a supportive relationship, 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But now we're going our own separate ways. And if you go into the records and ask, is this soul contract still viable? Do I still have a soul contract with this person? They will often say, no, maybe it was complete 10 years ago already. And you're like, wow, okay, you mean I was good to go then? Now, of course, on the other hand, we've got the whole human aspect, which is, can I afford to, move out or get divorced or whatever? How old are my children, if that's playing into it? So there's all those pieces. And you can even ask in the Akashic Records about those sorts of things, such as, say you still have a family and you're ready to, get separated, and the record keepers say your contract is not complete because you still have a parenting contract with this person.
Right, got it.
And it's very important that you work on becoming good role models for this child and come into a place of forgiveness and compassion, whether that means you're going to therapy or you're doing some energy healing or whatever that might be for you. And you can ask in the records too, things like, is this in alignment with my soul path? Or is this in alignment with my soul path? So you're really kind of checking in on these sorts of things where you can say, what is the highest and best for me to do, now or next? In alignment to who I am as this big ancient soul. And so there's so much detail. It's often not the, yes, let's just, wipe the slate clean, because if we could actually do that, then why would we even be coming, But we can start to understand, which means that we're growing and we're developing as a soul. And then we have those gifts and we have that understanding. Maybe you've been a fabulous role model for your child, and possibly you've even healed the relationship and you decide not to separate anyway, because you've done some deeper work for yourself and you've now really grown as a soul, and now you've actually jumped over some other old karma because you've healed it in the meantime, right? So doing our work is profound for us, and again, it ripples out into the world and it affects those around us.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, that's a great explanation and clarification about soul contracts. So what about the soul retrieval? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so what I see is that a lot of times when we have a big trauma in our life, and that is, getting killed, or, whatever, maybe we were in a war, maybe we had a, very traumatic, abusive relationship, whatever it might have been, in other lifetimes. So these are all related to past lives, that a piece of your soul actually splinters off. Okay. So say I was burned at the stake for being a witch back in the 1600s. And so I vowed, of course, while the flames are flying around me, I'm going to vow, I am never doing this again. Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Never, ever, ever. And so not only do we make a vow never to go out there and share those gifts because this got me killed, but it's so painful. It's physically painful, it is emotionally painful, and it is spiritually painful. It means that you feel like you've been abandoned by God, or, the God of your understanding, whatever that means to you. It's like, I've been abandoned. How could you let this happen? How could the universe let this happen? And so what we find is that energetically, the soul kind of gets stuck. It splinters off from the huge oversoul. And that little part gets kind of stuck in, to me, in pain. And I often see pain almost like it's wrapped in barbed wire. It's wrapped in some, old rusty cage. Sometimes I almost see it like in a dungeon or something like that, and we can't get to it. We can't reclaim those gifts. We can't heal that pain, and we can't merge it back into the whole soul, the oversoul. And so it's important for us to do our own, or to work with somebody to do some soul retrieval work. And some people do that through hypnosis. I think that's been the kind of common way to do it. But what happened years ago was that I found with the healing work I was doing in the records, that they would send me back into a past life where there was this kind of emotional pain and trauma. I would clear the pain, I would clear the barbed wire, I would get them out of that cage. We would heal them, fill them with their highest Akashic light, wisdom, and energy, and I would literally see that that image change, that story change. So I remember the first time I saw it, the person that I was doing the reading for was had their head on a guillotine, right? So they were getting their head chopped off, or had just had their head chopped off. And so I did this energetic healing to heal this, of course, physical pain, trauma, and did all of that healing. And all of a sudden the person stood up and walked away into the sunset. I was like, wow, that was a trip. And so I asked the record keepers, I'm like, what was that? That's kind of crazy, And they said their soul has been healed and gone home to become part of the oversoul again, to become one with the bigger soul.
Nice.
And so when I realized that that was actually something we could do with ease, not having to go through a whole, anything process. I do it for people. I also teach my students to do it for themselves. But that it could make such a huge shift, because not only are we healing that pain, but we're also reclaiming those gifts and talents which we have been lost to us until now, right?
Yeah.
So because they were stuck in that nasty little picture, we couldn't access those psychic gifts or that energy healing or that wisdom around, natural healing, whatever it was that you had been doing that got you killed.
Right.
Yeah. So
Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, it feels like one of the very important pieces to be doing with people a lot, so that they can be reclaiming. Really, to me, the point is, I realize over all these, years, if I go back 20, 25 years, and I think it was always about kind of healing karma, healing, clearing, healing.
Mm-hmm.
But then at some point, and it's not that long ago, it's probably about in the last 5 years, where the record keepers start to say, now we want to help to bring all the gifts back, reclaim all the gifts, retrieve the soul splinters and pieces that have been broken off. We want to reclaim the gifts and talents so that you can literally step more fully into being this huge wise soul, right?
Yeah. Beautiful. I love it. Yay. I think that's so powerful. So powerful. So I want to talk about one more little thing, because we touched on it briefly at the very beginning, but this is about, not all of us are from Earth, some are, but we've had our origin on other star systems, in the galaxies, right? So can you talk a little bit about that? Because some people may not be familiar with that. Some folks are, for sure. But, it's like the first time I was told that, I had, first time I found that out for myself, I was like, what? what are you talking about? I mean, first time I ever heard about the Pleiadians, and I'm like, who? Where are they from? What are they? It's like,
what is
now it's like it's a part of my everyday life, but at the beginning, like, I had no idea.
Right. And again, I think as all of the energy is opening up, we have been going through such big energetic portals and have been so aligned to the galactic center, or the galactic sun, that, I think more and more people, especially, who watch and listen to the telesummits, have gotten so much more familiar. So what the Akashic Record Keeper said to me when they said, asked me to start a school, I said, why? I'm busy, I've got all these babies here, I'm working with the kids, and they said, well, because you're very galactic, which I kind of just always took as a sure, whatever that means, and we will give you galactic access prayers. So what that means is that I teach a 5-step wisdom prayer system. I teach 5 simple steps so that it's easy for people to access their Akashic records. You don't have to meditate for hours and hours and hours on end. And so it makes it very simple. You're using a vibrational key, which is a sacred prayer. So the record keepers gave me 6 different sacred prayers, and each one is aligned to a different planet or plane. So there's one for the Pleiadians, one for the Sirians, one for the Arcturians. There's one for people from Maldek, which is in Orion's belt. There's actually an angelic one, because it's another plane and dimension that many of us have lived in. As well as the Galactic Traveler, which is kind of for people who are just generally very galactic and are big travelers energetically in that kind of way. So there's 6 access prayers, and kind of the fun thing is, when you take my Akashic Record course, we practice, we do a little bit of work in course 1 with 3 of the galactic access prayers, and you start to see which one you energetically align to, and that is part of who you've been. in other worlds and dimensions before you came here to Earth. And so if you love the Syrian prayer and get lots of energy and information from accessing your Akashic Records, you're always accessing your own Akashic Records, but if you get a lot of information from the, say, Syrian prayer, I'm very Syrian myself, and then that would be informing you into a part of who you are as a star seed from Sirius.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do more processes in the workshop to ask and go a little bit deeper. You know, what else can you tell me about my lives on Sirius? How many lives did I have here? Who, you know, who was I? What did I do? Any gifts and talents I can reclaim from there?
Mm-hmm.
So all of this is accessible to you in your Akashic Records, because your Akashic Records is not only the recording of your life here on Earth, it is the recording of all of your lives forever.
Yeah, everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere.
Exactly.
Even
awesome.
in the angelic realm. That's why there's an angelic prayer, and I know there's actually 2 more prayers that I'm going to download, because they keep saying write a Andromedan prayer and a Lyran. So a prayer for Lyra and a prayer for Andromeda. So then I'll have 8 different galactic access prayers. And what I find is it just makes it easier. It's kind of like, you know, where do you like to read a book, right? If you're in your house, where would you go? Would you sit on the couch? Do you have a rocking chair? Do you like to read in bed? Where are you most comfortable so you can dive deep into reading a book? And it's literally the same with the Akashic Records. Where are you comfortable? Are you comfortable in the energy and vibration of Sirius? Just picturing that as a Syrian armchair, or in the Pleiadian armchair, right? Or in that galactic traveler's bed, right? Wherever that is. So it just makes it easier, is one of the kind of interesting things when they, you know, asked me to do all of this. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's
sure.
fun. Yeah,
it makes sense.
Exactly, it's fun, and you know, and the cool thing is you get to find out more about your experiences, you know, in your galactic experiences, and also bring back those talents and gifts and abilities and capacities and use them here and now. And that's what it's about. It's not just about, oh, you know, it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting to know that I'm, you know, I went to Sirius and I did this and that and the other thing, but being able to bring that gift, talent, capacity back so you can use it, you know?
Right. Because often if you look at, or if you have ever read different things about, you know, different planes and worlds, dimensions, some of your soul wisdom, right? What you have been doing as a soul is embedded in that energy.
Yeah.
So when I look at Arcturians, I always think, oh, they're here to help humanity awaken. Because the record keepers say often, you know, I mean, excuse me, it often will kind of explain some of what we've experienced in life, also part of our karmic patterns and what we're still, you know, learning about. So, so the Arcturians, often it feels like it's helping us go from kind of a warring world state like they had been a long time ago into a peaceful world, and then moving from peace into awakening, which is all what we're trying to do here on Earth. And that's why I get that there's so many Arcturians who have come, who, you know, Arcturian souls who have embodied, as well as unembodied Arcturians.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother story.
They're there too, yeah.
Right. But those of us who have embodied, right, and are having human experiences. With kind of that as a soul purpose overview also.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So it even complicates the soul purpose question when you start to think, oh, my soul purpose is to help humanity awaken. Wow. Right.
Yep. And so, and then how you do it is totally up to you, you know, so it didn't have to be, you know, through creating a school or teaching or whatever. It could have been some other way, right? So the purpose was to help people awaken, but how you do it, that's up to you, you know, right?
Right. Absolutely. So, you know, as for me personally, part of my big purpose is as a communicator, right?
Yep.
Hence
Same here.
the talking, right? So you've chosen to do it as a summit host, right? I've chosen to do it by writing books and being on shows and doing, and teaching, and talking in that way. Yeah. But, we have that choice as a kind of bigger soul purpose. So we also have that, we can look at that in the Akashic Records also, like the kind of the archetypes that we're embodying in this life and have also in other lifetimes. So we are ancient and complicated, aren't we?
Oh, yes. And we've been and done everything is what I like to say. We've been and done everything. And so now here in this lifetime, it's like we get to choose, what do we want to experience? What do we want to do? Who do we want to be? Who do we want to become? Where are we going kind of thing, right? So it's a great time. It's interesting I can say that. It's a great time. 20 years ago, I would not have said that. It's like, oh my God, but now it's a great time. It's wonderful. All right, so I'm just checking to see quickly to make sure that we've covered everything that we wanted to cover. The only thing that we haven't is about abundance. We didn't cover abundance part yet. Do you want to just talk a little bit about what may be keeping abundance away from us in this lifetime?
Right. Well, to me, I find that abundance is always fascinating because it is so multi-layered. So it's one of the things that I also like to teach people to learn about for themselves in the Akashic Records, because what we notice is that we have childhood beliefs and unconscious beliefs from our family of origin often, sometimes our religion, sometimes our kind of ancestral heritage is getting passed down. So we have this life stuff, like what was your parents' story? How did they talk to you about it? Were you did you have plenty, or was there great lack? Was there fear around money, or was there abundance? Well, so we look at that human part of this lifetime. But when we go back and look through other lifetimes where we've taken vows of poverty, or where we've been a thief, or where we were killed because we were rich, or, where we misused our money and power, and we made these vows, I don't want to be rich because I am not a nice person when I'm rich, right? And so we have all of those layers of the past lives. And then we have the whole big ancestral lineage. And we have curses in there, which I think is always so fascinating, where I'll sometimes see that a client's, say, great-great-grandfather was cursed by his brother because he inherited the family land and the great wealth, right? How for a long time the oldest son got, say, the farm or what, and so I've seen more than one younger brother curse an older brother because I mean, they go down, they pass down energetically. It passes down as anger and jealousy and even hatred and constriction and dark energy and fear, right? So that we end up with that kind of genetically, ancestrally kind of in our body. And so we literally can kind of look at that and clear that out and recognize that and let it go and then make a new conscious choice later on, right? So yeah, it's a great thing to work on in your Akashic Records.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. And I know you have a program around that too, money and the Akashic Records. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. So sometimes when you're wondering, why is the abundance not showing up? Why am I not getting the job that I want? Why? Well, maybe there's an answer for you in the Akashic Records about that. It could be something from this lifetime or previous lifetimes. But all the information is in the records. You just have to learn how to access and ask the right questions.
Right. Which isn't really as hard as it sounds. Right?
It's not hard to access, but the question part is like, oh my God, what questions do I ask? And that's the thing, is like you keep asking and asking and asking, and not asking the same thing, but different versions sometimes, and you'll get, different answers, and then you can piece them together. I think,
Right.
anyways.
Right. No, absolutely. I agree. I mean, I always, like in my class, I say it's kind of like the maypole dance, if you are familiar, with the maypole, and it was all these ribbons. And so you would have lots of people, dancing around and weaving all these ribbons together. It would make this beautiful kind of pattern out of all these ribbons. But if you only have one ribbon, that wouldn't be much of a maypole dance, or would be, it wouldn't look like anything. So honestly, this is what the record keepers told me 20 years ago about asking questions. When you have many questions, you get a full, complete answer. When you have one question or a yes/no question, you're not going very deep.
Yeah, and there's nowhere to go with that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good. So thank you. All right. So I want to take a moment and talk about the special offer that you have for us today. So for those of you who are on the live page, you can just click on special offer. Those of you who are watching or listening later, you can just click on the link for the special offer, or you can go to alara.at/show/Lisa5. So Lisa, this is the Learn the Akashic Records program, right?
Yes. It's what I call Akashic Course 1. This is where you start to learn to read your own Akashic records so that you can easily be divinely guided by your soul's wisdom and your Akashic record keepers. So this is very special, actually, if I say so myself, because this is a live program that starts June 18th, and it will be with me online for 6 weeks, 2 hours a week, and you will receive a written manual that you can print out, about, I think it's 44 pages or something like that. And so you have the sacred access prayers, you have healing prayers, you have exercises, you have 30 questions that I give you to ask. And so much more information, right? Everything you basically learn in this 12-hour workshop, I have put into a written manual so that you can follow along easily. The workshop is on instant teleseminar with slides, so you can go on and read and follow along easily while we're in class. I have students all over the world because, of course, you can just access it through your computer. You can download the replays. You can practice during the week and then show up and ask questions about the program, on the call the next week. So yes, it will help you.
Stacy just signed up. Yay, Stacy!
Oh,
good job.
Nice, yay!
You love it. Like I said, that was my first course in the Akashic Records, was with Lisa in person. It was in person. And I loved it. I just absolutely loved it. The energy was beautiful. The whole program was beautiful. Yeah, it feels like long ago, but it wasn't that long ago. But it was like a couple years ago.
I know.
5, 6 years ago.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe 7, but yeah.
Maybe 7. Yeah. Before 2016, because I came here in 2016. So.
Oh yeah, no, I'm thinking closer to 2012, but I'd have to go look at my photos. That's how I tell.
It was 2014. You know how I know? Because I had extensions in my hair because I was just about to get married.
That was the second time.
Oh, that was the second time. Okay, then.
I think so. Yeah. I think so. Anyway, because I went to Canada twice.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyways, you'll love it, Stacy. You'll love it.
Yeah, so much information. I teach you so much. I just, I'm very blessed to have a ton of information, and I have been, my story was I was really born awake. And so I literally started studying spirituality when I was 13, 14, literally 50 years ago. I have studied for all of this time. And so I teach you tools to align to the higher Akashic vibration, guided meditations for healing and grounding. I teach you to call back energy, to run earth and cosmic energy through your body to clear and expand your healing channels. I mean, there's just a ton on top of learning my 5-step wisdom prayer system. There are so many other healing tools and pieces for you to learn. And I think one of the things that's important to point out, one of the bonuses I'm offering is a 45-minute pre-recorded healing call with me that I did, and it is about working with the Akashic Masters to clear blocks to your 6th sense gifts. So we're opening the channels to your clairvoyance. We're working on calcification in your pineal to open your clairvoyance, working on clairaudience, reconnecting clairsentience with claircognizance. So we do all of this so you can, hear and see and feel in a more unified way. So that is something that when you sign up, you get immediately. And so you can download that and listen to it every day if you want until class starts, or, as often as you want. It's very helpful. But again, we work in layers. And one of the things that the record keepers say is that, if you wake up or shift things like too quickly for yourself, then our personality, our ego is not able to function in this human dimension, and we are all of a sudden really whacked out. And so, you may just end up sitting on a park bench for a couple of years or something. And we don't want that for anyone. We want you to grow with ease and grace.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And then that's the thing. It's like sometimes, when people are saying, like, why can't I just have it all now? Like be enlightened now, or be awake now, or not have to go through any more of these challenges anymore, kind of thing. It's like we wouldn't be able to handle it, so that's why it's steps and stages. It's more about you being aware of what's going on in your life and, with everything. But definitely lots of healing can happen in this program, as well as learning to access your own Akashic records and work with the Akashic record masters, so it's huge. I mean, it's huge, especially if you use the tools, right? So you gotta go into the Akashic records on a regular basis and ask questions, right? But sometimes just going into the records and just receiving, just being present and feeling and sensing the energy, that is very healing in itself as well.
Yes, it absolutely is. And I also share with you 7 different healing prayers that the record keepers have given us. And so I often will tell new students, just open your records and read through the prayers. The 7 prayers doesn't take very long. It could be 10 minutes maybe. And then just, rest in that energy, in that peace, receive the healing and the clearing. And if you just do that, every other day, and maybe you open your records and start asking simple questions, you're starting to utilize this as a tool to transform your life, because every day you can sit down and say, is this in my highest and best good to do this? Or what's my next step on this path? Or what can I know about this soul contract? Or do I even have a soul contract with this person? And so we can ask so many questions. It's endless.
Exactly. And the thing is, when you do go into the Akashic records and you do start to ask questions, you actually get answers. You actually get answers. So, it's great. It's great. It's a great resource, great tool. Yeah, I love it. All right. So was there anything else you wanted to share with us, Lisa?
About the class? I think that's it.
Yeah, that's good. What if I fail to connect? Stacy's asking, what if I fail to connect? You won't fail to connect, but I'll let Lisa answer that.
Right. Right. Don't set yourself up for doubt, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It is all good. And so one of the things I say is that if you take the whole workshop and you do all the processes and practices and use all of these tools, and you show up and you give it, a good shot, and you just can't, I will give you a refund, because I believe so strongly in this work and in everyone's abilities to access their Akashic records, because the record keepers always say, this is your birthright. We want everyone on the planet to access their own Akashic records so that they can stop, living in fear and drama and in the past and trauma. So,
when that doubt comes up, just say no. I'm going to, just tell yourself, no, this is not a valid, fear or doubt, because I can access Akashic records. They are there for me to work with. And because of the prayers or the way that Lisa, shows you how to get into the Akashic records, you will, I mean, I did it, so trust me.
Right. I did it, so trust me.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you can't not do it. You can't do it wrong. Do you do like practices with other people in the class, Lisa?
No, we don't in this class, because this is just course 1. Right. We used to sometimes in person, we do that little love seat.
Yeah.
But because we're online and I have 100 students online, it's not easy to do that way. Yeah. But we do a lot of exercises in class. I'm holding the energy, I'm holding the space. We get to share, you get to ask questions. I got this, or I didn't get that, or was this the records? What do you think? And
and it's 6 weeks. So in those 6 weeks, you're going to take time to go into your records and practice anyways.
Right.
Yeah. So then so Stacy, don't worry, no worries.
Right.
If it was just like 1 hour, I'd be like, oh, okay, I'm not sure. But 6 weeks, it'll be fine. Yeah. Good.
Right. And that's one of the reasons I like the 6-week class instead of the live weekend, which is just a weekend. Because, you have to see me next week. So most people do a little bit of practicing, even if they only practice once or twice during the week. It's kind of like you're building up that.
Exactly.
That process. You're really getting into a habit.
You're doing the homework because you might get called out on it. So it's like, okay, I better do something.
Right. Because I'm very mean when I teach.
Good. April says, this call, Zoom, was the personal touch I needed to sign up. Thank you. Oh, good, April.
Oh,
good
thank you. Nice. Yeah.
There's another Stacy. Okay, sorry. There was another Stacy that was talking. So there's 2 Stacys here. So you know what I mean, Stacy. You'll be fine. Okay, awesome. All right. So okay, so hold on, let me see here. Was there anything else that we wanted to do today, Lisa?
I don't know. Should we do a little group healing before we sign off?
Yeah. Do you have some time? Because we normally do, but I just want to make sure. Awesome.
Yep.
Good.
Absolutely. I love to. I love to heal people.
No, there's no code. There was no code. No code required. You just click on the button.
Yep. Yeah, it's already like 50% off my regular price on my website. So this is the place to buy it. Let me just say.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all good. All right. So let's do a healing, because I love your healing processes, Lisa. They're always so awesome and powerful.
Okay. Let's see what comes up. I'm not sure what we're doing until we open the record. So what we'll do is I will do the process of bringing everybody into the Akashic field with me. Then we'll ask our record keepers, highest and best, for the group to work on today. And then we'll just go from there. All right. So let's just start by sitting back and closing our eyes if we can. And let's get nice and grounded. It makes it easier on the body for doing these expansive trips into the higher realms if the body feels grounded and safe. So with your feet flat on the ground, let's just run some grounding roots from our feet down into the earth. I like to send them about 5 feet down and then 3, 4, 5 feet out, making nice wide root system. And then a big grounding cord from the base of your spine goes all the way down to the core of the earth. And I like to wrap my grounding tail around the core of the earth. And let's just make sure we drop out of our head, move out of all of that linear logical energy and drop straight down out of our brain and into our heart brain. And we let our beautiful energetic heart, fourth chakra, open and expand further, letting your heart become a beautiful golden spinning ball. And we ask the divine lords of unconditional love to help us center fully in this moment as we create this sacred space. Please wrap us in your love and protection and allow us to travel to the highest realms of the Akasha available to us today. Please help as we lay our multidimensional heart open to divine love and release all resistance. Lords of the Akashic Record, please guide us to the deepest truth we can access now. Support us in healing and releasing that which no longer serves on our true path. We give great thanks for your divine love and support on this journey today. So let yourself feel this beautiful Akashic silvery blue column of energy bring you into this field with the Akashic Masters and everyone all over the world coming together as we become the bridge of the Akashic field to Gaia. And so I'm actually hearing a couple of different things to work on today. So I want to clean up some of the old soul contracts that are complete and they just look like they're kind of stuck and hanging out there. So the record keepers are saying that we can just take those old contracts, and because they already are complete, and most of them have been complete for over 5 years, it looks like. They are building a nice little bonfire filled with these little scrolls. They look like, like you would take a scroll and write an old contract on some parchment paper. So we just burn them all. And as we burn them, remember that all of that energy is getting recycled for the highest good of all concerned. So it is allowing you to reclaim your energy that was stuck in that contract, and it's allowing the other person also to reclaim their energy that had also been stuck in that contract. And so what the record keepers are saying is that we will then reclaim all of the love, any love that also got kind of splintered off or lost or stuck in the contract, in any challenges that have been there. And so we're reclaiming all of that love. So you can bring that back into your body, back into your heart. I kind of see it almost as a direct connection into our hearts, like a beautiful energy coming into the heart. Good. And the same with whoever that contract was with. They get all of their love and energy back. Good. That feels very validating, which is interesting. That's kind of the word that's coming through. But it's almost like they're saying that when we're receiving our energy back and our love back, and we're able to reclaim that, we get to remember and feel the love we felt for that person or shared with that person. We are able to feel kind of validated around the positive aspects of that relationship. And so it's bringing these old contracts that have been kind of stuck into a higher vibration and into, again, the vibration of love. And so that feels very good for everybody. Good. And then what the record keepers are suggesting is we're going to re-energize any soul contracts we have that are outstanding. So part of what they're really talking about right now is helping us to connect with more of our soul family members, to meet new best friends, to meet possibly a new love. Yeah, so energetically, each of you, what I'm seeing are kind of like shining this beautiful light up into your Akashic Records, creating kind of new energetic pathways to people that you have a soul contract to support, and that they're here to support you. So only the support contracts. We're not reactivating any karmic contracts, because let's go forward with support. Right? Doesn't mean you might not have some karmic contracts that are still going on in the world, or can't dump them if they're not complete, but the new ones that are here for support. And what the record keepers are saying is it's so important that we really go forward and find more of our soul family, or our best friends, or people we've had other past lives with, that, you know, that we wrote these contracts that say, I'm here to support you and you're here to support me, and this is just lovely. And so they could be bosses at work, they could be, you know, friends or lovers or children even. And sometimes it even wakes back up a parent or somebody who you have that support contract with, but has not been active in that kind of way. So that feels really nice. So looks like everybody's lit up at least. Oh, they're showing me 4 or 5 of these soul contracts so you may have some new best friends. So So Angela was just asking if the record keepers can guide someone about what has been cleared. So when you're working in your own Akashic Records, yes, you can get a lot of details. You would actually work on a specific contract, or when I do a reading for somebody and they say, you know, is this contract with, you know, whatever, and give me a name, complete or not, or whatever, we can learn a lot about it. We can see past lives, we can do all sorts of different energy specific clearing around it. But because I'm in this collective group energy of 40 or more people, then I'm not getting, you know, 40 specific stories. My little brain couldn't deal with that. So yes, it's possible, but I can't do it in a group healing, okay? But you can do that for yourself. That is one of the amazing things about learning to read your own records. Good. And then they just want to bring in some kind of new gifts, is what they're saying. So that feels really fun. So some new upgraded like gifts and talents now that we have more portals that have been opening over the last few years, and we've been doing our healing work and upgrading ourselves and raising our vibration. It allows more of your soul, oversoul, more of the big soul to come in and to update and upgrade some of these gifts and talents that you've had in other lifetimes. So that's what they want to do right now. So it might feel really, the way I'm seeing it is kind of almost more like light codes streaming into our crown chakra. And so you might feel it as a buzz or a tingle in your head, or you might, feel it somewhere else in your body, or you might feel nothing. Whatever it is, that's just all perfect. We just let them, if you're open to receive that, just think yes. Bring in the new gifts and talents and upgraded codes and energy so that you can move forward creating the life your heart and soul desires with ease and grace. Good. That looks great. All right. And so we ask the record keepers to help us to ground this in all the way down in the cellular level into our bodies. And we put a nice time release bubble around us so that this can continue to integrate over the next 3 days with ease. Getting really well grounded into our physical body and energy field in all ways. And we thank the record keepers for the love and the healing, and we close and lock the records for now, and so it is. Blessed be. Lovely. Yeah.
Awesome. I don't know if you noticed, but I was like yawning the whole time.
I know, I see you yawning. I know, like, oh, good. Alara's getting a good healing. Yay.
Exactly. And at one point, I was like so hot when you talked about something. Oh, God, what was it? Not the first thing, but the second thing. I don't know. There was something that you talked about.
Right.
And I was like so hot. It's like, wow. So lots of energy shifting. And I felt the gifts coming in. I felt those codes coming in for sure.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so that was nice. Yeah, so.
Good. And there was one question I wanted to also answer. Stacy was saying, does a contract end when someone dies? And so, yes, because these contracts are really about like this life. And that's why also I talk about and teach people to want to go back. And in the second course, in course 2, I teach a whole lot more healing and, just going deeper into the records. But we learn, we want to release and send them their energy back, because every soul really wants to have their own energy in their own space, body, system, right? Yeah. Again, like gathering all that big soul back together. And so it is important to release it back to them and to reclaim your energy back from them. And you still love them. It doesn't mean they don't, that, you're not loved and all of that. But yeah, so that's always kind of perfect to know that that soul contract does end when they may write a new one. They may say, I'm going to be your angel now, or I'm going to help you from this side. But it's a different contract. It's a new contract. So good question. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
Beautiful. Good. Thank you all.
No, that was really nice. It's like I was present for it, but it's like I already forgot what happened.
We were clearing old contracts. I know, isn't that funny? Because me too, because it's just in the moment, right? I'm just channeling it from the records. I know that we were clearing old energy and contracts. Oh, that's what it was. And then the second one was about the love. It was about kind of reclaiming kind of that love from those relationships. And so it was really kind of upgrading us, up leveling us. So we felt good about those relationships instead of often we feel bad about a relationship, even though maybe we might have had, 5 good years, 10 good years with somebody. And then in the end, we're like, oh, that was a failure. It's like, no, it wasn't.
Exactly. No, it wasn't. Yeah, exactly. Good. Yeah, awesome.
So.
Good. So I'm glad you were able to experience that, Stacy. So, that was going into your records, it was a group thing, but still.
Right? Yes. And that is, and it's just as easy as that, honestly. And so in class, I am holding that energy for the whole group. And when we all get together and we're all going into the records, together to practice, it makes it so much easier. So it's much easier to learn in a class, in a live class, than by reading a book or something.
Yep. Awesome. Good. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Great. Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, good. Awesome. So please do take a look at the special offer page from Lisa, and it's all about the first course for accessing your own records, going into your records, receiving the healing from the records as well, healing processes, and getting, the questions and answers from the records. So that's available at alara.at/show/Lisa5, or you can just click on the link that you see, because there's a link there as well. So take a look at it and sign up. Lisa's course begins on June 18th, I think, and it goes for 6 weeks. So that's awesome. Lots of time to practice and connect and go in to the records.
Yes, it's really fun. And of course, here you are meeting new soul family members, meeting more alike, conscious, alike other souls. Yep. So, these are great ways to start to deepen into our, connection with other spiritual people, with like-minded people and souls.
Yeah, exactly.
So
awesome.
Lovely. Thank you, Alara. It's been fun to be here with everyone.
I just so love our conversations. I always learn so much, and it's always such a high vibe and, fun call, and the information you bring through is just wonderful. And the healing process, again, I knew it was going to be great, even though I couldn't remember part of it. It's like, it was great. I loved it. It's like energy was shifting and clearing, and wow. So thank you. Thank you.
Oh.
All right, so thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. And until next time, may you continue to be blessed with an abundance of joy, peace, love, happiness, prosperity, and radiant health. Sending you all much love and blessings always. Bye for now.